So I thought, well, that would be kind of fun to go up there and see if I could get a job. After my graduation, I graduated in 1963, 63 years ago. Who would have thought? And so I decided to come on up. I had a friend of mine that was going to join me, but he ended up getting a new girlfriend and just couldn't leave her. So I said, well, I'm going to go myself. So the first place I went to was the Forest Service, thinking that'd be cool to be a ranger. Well, that didn't work out. I was in Estes Park and I saw a sign actually on a tree of all things, that said Grand Lake and an arrow. So I said, well, I love lakes, I've always been a boater, and I decided, well, let's go over Trail Ridge in my 57 Chevy. And here, this is a photo right before I took off. And for you gearheads, this 57 Chevy was a little more than just a car. It was a hot rod. It had power pack, 2 4-barrels. It was the fastest car in my high school. I have to tell you, I'm a bragger. The only time I ever got beat dragging was when I broke my gear shift knobs, shifting from first to second. So anyway, so I made it over Grand Lake. In fact, I found a couple things on AI. I wasn't a big fan of AI until this. I was amazed how simple it was to make these posters. Anyway, I loved it, so I thought I would share it. By the way, my mother was hesitant for me to go off on my own to Colorado, but my dad said, hey, let him go see Colorado. He was a little looser with his wanting me to see the world, okay? So I did. The trip went fine until I was approaching Raton, New Mexico, and my engine started overheating. And it turned out it was a leak in the water pump. And I'd fiddled around with, actually I used to work in a gas station, so I knew how to fix it. This is me in high school when, if you can see the prices, yeah, 25 cents, 25 for 9, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, I nursed it into Raton and went to an auto parts store and bought a water pump and went to a gas station and said, you know, I put gas in it first. And I asked the owner if it'd be okay if I put my new water pump on in behind his gas station. He said, sure. So I did and got it running and spent the night basically behind the gas station in my 57 Chevy in the back seat. So then I headed out from Raton and over the pass, and my first sight of the mountains was Spanish Peaks. If you've been up and down I-25, you know these well. And it blew me away, frankly. So I got into Grand Lake and I went to the marina thinking that'd be cool to drive tourists around. Back then they gave the tours in Chris Craft and Century boats. They weren't pontoon boats. They were beautiful wooden boats. Someone's nodding their head. You know that. By the way, if anyone wants to jump in, please do, because that way I can get a sip of water, okay? Anyway, they weren't hiring, but they said, well, why don't you go try at the Holiday Pancake House, Joe McDonald. And I said, okay. So I drove up to the Holiday Pancake House, and Joe was in the back unloading flour, I think, big heavy bags of flour. And I introduced myself, and he looked at my car, and I told him I was looking for a job. Anyway, this is it. This is one of the shots from there. Now you might recognize this now as It is Mountain Lake Properties building. Off to the right, we had a barber, if you can see that. Okay. Anyway, we talked for a while, and evidently we hit it off, and so he said, yeah, I'll hire you. I said, okay. He said it pays $400 for the summer, plus room and board. Okay. I looked it up. $400.63 is $4,263.87 today in today's, and that kind of blew me away. It really did. Do you mind if I take a sip of water? I'm a little dry. Go ahead.
That's where my first love worked, right there.
Oh.
Painting, well, we call it painting house, but yes,
You know, a lot of us youngsters worked there.
1967.
Who was it?
Susie Lang.
Oh, okay. Wow.
He always hired the hottest girls.
Steve Brown.
Anyway, he told me later that one of the reasons he hired me is because of my car. He sold Fords at O'Mara Ford in Denver in the off season. And back then the off season was a lot longer than it is today. Usually the town just pretty much shut down after September. And he said, Bill, one of the reasons I hired you is I looked at your car and I figured if you take that good care of your car, then you might make a good employee. And I said, well, thank you. So anyway, we went from there. Let me see where I am. Oh, the tonsillitis.
Yeah.
Okay, I had to look it up. I'm from Texas, okay? That's what it says.
That's pretty sophisticated for Grand Lake.
So this is another one. Now this one says Holiday Pancake House, and the one previous to this said just Holiday Pancake House, and a different signage altogether. So I don't know. It is what it is. Okay, gotta keep this microphone in front of me. So there I am. Sooner or later I managed to become a cook, although back then we called them fry cooks. Because basically we fried everything. The only thing we baked was, even the donuts we fried in oil. So this was after I'd advanced from being a dishwasher, and they finally trusted me to flip a hamburger, okay? And then here were the cooks that summer. I don't know how many of you knew Paul McDonald. That's him on the left. I can't remember the young fellow between he and my friend Bill Hornbuckle in the middle, and then a friend of Paul's, and maybe some of you might have heard of him, Paul Thebus.
Yes.
Okay. And then yours truly. You notice the price of the chicken dinner, and I don't think the shrimp. Yeah. They had bunk rooms in the back of the restaurant for us. The boys had a separate one and the girls had a separate one. And I went over a couple days ago and took a picture of, that's the girls, and this is the guys. Now it's, what's the name of it?
Bighorn Bagels.
Oh yeah, Bighorn Bagels. I'm pretty sure they got their name from Bighorn Builders, Dan Fairbanks' company. I'm almost positive. Anyway, we had a good time in those days back then. Let me see here. I probably should just wing it, right? Anyway, Joe's two kids, Paul and Marilee, had been around for a while. The rest of us were there for maybe a year, maybe two, but Joe's kids, and I don't know if you know Marilee, I know if anyone else knows Marilee besides Donna, that's Paul's sister. Behind, etc., there was a large pizza oven, a large tabletop fryer, deep fat fryers for the French fries, and a donut maker. We opened from breakfast through dinner. Most dinners, I think, were about $1.50, as shown here. This is a photograph of Grand Avenue that's been floating around for some time. I don't know who took it. Does anybody here? Anyway, my son sent it to me. And I know, Donna, you have it in your office.
Right.
Um,
And I'll make pictures for anybody who wants one. It's just such a great shot. And we think this was what, 1962 or something?
You know, that's a good question. I mean, to the right is a 58 Chevy, there's a 62 Chevy. I know this wasn't the year I was there because it was called the Holiday House. Sometime in the early 60s is my guess. But here, someone has gone, and I know who it was, gone to the trouble to identify some of the buildings. Pinecone Inn. Well, I won't try to read them off, but I guess, can everybody read them? And has everyone seen this before? 'Cause I think it's been floating around for a while. So I felt pretty good about Grand Lake, and it didn't take me long to feel at home. Such a neat town. I'm so glad I didn't stay in Estes Park. Nothing against Estes Park, but this to me is just a much nicer town to be in. So there's a few things that would really come to mind when I think about Grand Lake and some of my firsts. The Foghorn. Has anybody been to the Foghorn?
I worked there in December of '67.
Did you really? I never worked there, I just played there. So they had a jukebox. Actually, the photo with the young lady, and I think it looks to me like Adams Falls, I don't know, but anyway, that was actually hanging in the Foghorn, and then when it became Grumpy's, I went in and the owner said, I asked if I could make a copy of it, and he did, and so that's what we have here. And I think after Grumpy's, or you guys might be able to help me here, it's now the White Buffalo, right? Okay. And then it was Grumpy's before that?
Yes.
And what was it before that? Was it the Foghorn? Okay, cool.
Oh, does anybody know who the young lady is?
Oh, that would be cool.
Donna?
But you, Donna?
No. Chances are somebody, Steve, anybody recognize her?
It looks like Susan, man. But I can't sing.
Okay, go ahead.
I wish I'd have known her then. So, what was really cool about the Foghorn was I was 18. I never had a drop of alcohol in my life, which is okay for a Texan, you know, young Texan. My folks were pretty strict about that. So one of my first things I did was have a Coors 3-2 at the Foghorn, and thought, you know, that's pretty good, and I liked it. So the other thing about the Foghorn was some great songs on the jukebox. Now, I don't know if they had a bubble machine or a bubble box like this, or I really can't remember, but I found this online, so here we go. I'm going to play a couple songs that were on the jukebox, and we'll see. Actually, I'm going to tell you first. We're going to do something here. I'm going to name the song, and you guys tell me who the artist is, okay? Oh, well, that's a bummer. Well, I know how to fix that. All right, Surfing USA. There you go. You get an extra cookie, by the way. Puff the Magic Dragon. You are You get 2 cookies, all right. All right, now you gotta bow out. You've gotten too many. No, that's fine. Walk like a man. Yeah. Who sang it?
Was it Frankie Valley on Four Seasons?
4 Seasons.
Yeah.
Good, Donna.
Don't you remember the Frankie Valley show at the theater? Yeah, we got to hear it.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
a few years ago.
Now this one's a no-brainer. I should have eliminated this. Ring of Fire.
Oh, my
Absolutely.
goodness. Oh, wait a minute, Bill.
What?
One moment.
Okay.
Oh, my goodness.
Uh-oh, what's going
How
on?
did who wrote
Like
that?
the story, she did, she signed it.
Okay, well, why don't you tell the story? Then I will.
Here.
Okay, we learned who the lady is. Okay, it's Ingrid Carlstrom from Frasier. And so a lot of you know her through Grand County. So isn't that something? Wow. She comes to events here in Grand Lake every so often. Yes. She was on the screen, the big screen. Ingrid Carlstrom.
Wow.
Thank you, Bill. Okay. All right, carry on, Bill.
Okay. Well, now we're going to get a little harder. I've already blown it on this one. Hey Paula by Paul and Paula. Now I didn't know who the artist was, but I remember the song very good, pretty well. Am I going to get music here? Will, am I going to get music? Should be an arrow.
There was an error there a minute.
Okay, I think I know what it is.
Hey, hey,
I'm not going to play the whole song, okay guys? Oh, we're rocking and rolling over here. I love it. All right. I'm not going to advance the next one because I give it away like I gave that one away. All right, here we go. Sugar Shack. Anybody remember Sugar Shack? Anybody have any idea who recorded that? Yeah, I didn't either. I had to look it up. No? No? Here we go. Of course, everybody knows Jimmy Gilmore and the Fireballs, right? All right. That's good.
oh, there's a crazy little shack beyond the tracks, and everybody calls it the Sugar Shack. Well, it's just a coffee house and it's made out of wood. Espresso coffee tastes mighty good. That's not the reason why I gotta get back up to that Sugar Shack. Whoa, get to that Sugar Shack. There's a cute little places over there.
I don't want to listen anymore. Stop. Can you tell we haven't rehearsed very much of this program? Now, I ran across this and I thought this was so cool that someone this age actually knew this song. And I had to include it because it just was so much fun.
Hey everybody, we're Lizard Phil and we're going to sing Sugar Shack.
There's a crazy little shack beyond the tracks, and everybody calls it the Sugar Shack. Coffee house
too soon? Okay. All right. So there's one more that this song was probably played more than any other song on that jukebox. And I had kind of forgotten about it. It's called Fingertips by Little Stevie Wonder, who recorded it when he was 12 years old. And I've got from American Bandstand, but he looks older than 12 on this one, but I'm going to play it for a little bit. This was played so much in the foghorn that it was just crazy. And the more we drank, the more we played. There we go. Mhm. Okay. It worked yesterday. We got to play this and we'll figure it out.
There you go.
All right.
Now you got this.
Okay.
Everybody say yeah! Say yeah! Yeah!
On American Bandstand, if you can see me in the bottom right. I'm guessing not many people here are familiar with this song. That's a good guess. All right. So another place that we had a great time was the Pinecone Inn. Back then it wasn't a restaurant. Back then it was just a big circular room, and now it's cut in half. But we had a great time there.
That's Charlie's, of course.
Yeah, Charlie's.
Yeah, where the parking lot is specifically. Yeah.
And they had a pool table in there. And I shot my best game of pool after 2 cocktails, which they served me because they didn't know how old I was. I must have looked old. But anyway, we had a good time in that one for sure. Sometimes I think it'd be easier if I just talked and didn't do this, but I don't know.
I was a guy who danced when I first.
Okay. At some point, and Donna, you sent me this, so there was a parade, and it looks like this was a float or car from the Holiday Pancake House. I wasn't here then, but back then it was a theater. And I guess a lot of you were here when it was a theater.
Right, the Loretta Heights Players were there first. Yeah.
And we think it was Paul McDonald was driving the car, but we enlarged it and we couldn't figure it out, so. And other things I found in this area that I hadn't done ever was fishing. I love to fish, but I'd never fished in the mountain streams. I'd always fished in my grandfather's pond up in Ohio. And that's where I learned how to fly fish, okay? So, my goodness, what fun it was to get into streams.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not 18 here, but I decided to put it up anyway. I think this is the North Inlet, maybe? Anyway. My son is, Justin has gathered my love for fishing, fly fishing, and this is him landing a brookie up on the North Inlet a couple days ago. And it's actually a video. It's hard to believe looking at this, isn't it? But I don't know how to make it run. Oh, here we go.
There you go.
He said the water was moving pretty rapidly up there. I don't know how he managed to do the video and fly at the same time because he was up there by himself.
Anyway. I don't think you guys are going to put this on YouTube. It's just not polished enough. We may have to do it again, okay? The other thing I hadn't done before was climb a mountain. Because there are no mountains around Beaumont, Texas. So this is a friend of mine on the left. His name, Herb Williams, I think was his name. I've kind of lost track of him. He had been up on top of Baldy before, so he kind of helped me, not this shot, but a later shot on the right. And I made it up Baldy a couple of times that summer. Will, you've made it up to Baldy, right? And I asked you if you had a trail or a way to get up there that was easy, and you told me no. Has anyone else been to the top? Good for you. Oh, several people. Nice. What have you?
Looking down on Grand Lake.
Yep. Looking down on Grand Lake. This is my buddy on the right, Herb Williams, and then Bill Hornbuckle, who you saw on the front porch of the restaurant. So, another thing I had never done is water ski in a mountain lake. Okay. So, I met a guy named Johnny A. Colt. Does anyone know that name? Really? Are they still around?
Yeah.
They
Really?
still own the building.
I'm sorry?
They still own the Humphrey building.
Do they? Okay. Well, they had a really nice boat, and I became friends with Johnny A. Colt. And he said, Bill, would you like to go water skiing? Well, I had water skied in the Natchez River outside of Beaumont, where the water temperature was running 85 or so. And I said, sure. And I didn't have a wetsuit. So back then we sat on the town dock, and then when you say hit it, it pulled you off the dock, okay?
You don't want to
I'm sorry?
You don't want to stop and go and walk.
No, you don't want to stop. So anyway, I sat there and I said, hit it. Well, little did I know that there was a loose nail on the, right as I was headed out, okay? And guess what it caught? My trunks, yep. If I'd only been that muscular, that would have been nice. But anyway, as soon as we headed toward the dock, I couldn't land on the dock. We were going too fast, so I sunk down in the water. Okay. Anyway, I beelined it up to the pancake house and basically stuck my head in the pizza oven to warm up. It was brutal. Has anybody ever skied Grand Lake? Water skied? Cool. Nice. Nice. The place we're in right now was a movie theater back in the day. It was called the Lake Theater. Right there. And this was in '57, so I don't know exactly when it started, when it stopped, but in '63, it was going full tilt, and they had a movie here, and one evening I decided to go see this movie because it sounded kind of interesting. So I went and I watched it, and I came back to the bunk room and thinking, man, that was a really cool movie. Well, it was Dr. No, the very first James Bond movie with Sean Connery. So let's see if this works. Well, we're getting a little scratchy here. Ursula Anders coming out of the water after she collected some shells. How many people have seen this? A lot of hands, right? Oh, not many. Come on, found.
the mango tree, my auntie and me.
Who's that?
Okay, we'll stop there. You get the idea. So we had a lot of parties around the lakes, and I think we called them woodsies. Does that sound right? Okay, we had woodsies. And one of the cooks, named Paul Thebus, had a really interesting talent called mooning. Okay? And he had a unique way of mooning from a moving car, different people down the road. So I got kind of curious about exactly the definition. Oop. There we go. I never tried it. I just didn't have the nerve to try it. That wasn't my cup of tea anyway. So anyway, let's see where we are. Gosh, I need to speed this up.
You're doing fine.
Thank you.
Started a little late.
Okay. Go to the next page. But well, I guess I'm gonna. Now we're getting there. So one of my high school friends, his name was Lewis, he came to Grand Lake about the middle of that summer, and he didn't have a car, but at the end of the summer, he and I decided to head back to Beaumont, and on a whim, we decided to swing by the Grand Canyon on the way back to Beaumont. Grand Canyon's here, and Beaumont's there, but you know, when you're 18 years old, what difference does it make, right? So we headed out again in my hot rod. Notice the 59 Pontiac hubcaps with spinners in the middle. So we got to Grand Lake, and it was late by the time we got there. We actually made it in one day, so it was very late. So we kind of slept on the edge, not far from the edge of the Grand Canyon. I don't think they allow you to do that these days. But the next day we did a little sightseeing, as you might say. And then headed back via Route 66. It was a real road then, not Interstate 40. So here we are, stopped. I get the back seat of the Chevy. Lewis gets the concrete picnic table. Anyway, it was fun. And then we stopped at the meteor crater. Has anybody ever been here?
Yep.
It's so much fun. It's just immense how big it is. It's like a mile across and 600 feet deep. And it's actually a meteor crater. It's really interesting. We got back home 2 months and started college. I was going to eliminate this, but I decided to keep it. 2 months later, you know, it just didn't occur to me that I had this newspaper that I had for years, and when I saw the date, I said, you know, soon after I got back from Grand Lake. And there's where we were going to put in a picture of Marilee.
I'm gonna find it for you.
Okay, it's okay. Anyway, so I started my business in Denver, and it worked out pretty good. I met a young lady, and we got married, and we honeymooned, and this was Dee. I know several people here who knew Dee, my late wife, and this was on our honeymoon in Winter Park. I'm going to jump back to 65. After my freshman year, I decided it was time to make some money and not have as much fun, so I got a job in oil fields outside of Beaumont. Paid really well, but boy was it rugged. Hot and humid, and so at the end of my next year, I called Joe and said, hey, can I have my job back? And he said, sure. So I came back and it paid $800 for the summer. Now, what is that, 8,000? Anyway, we had fun again. That summer I thought I was an old hand at cooking because I'd been there once before. Well, right the first day or so after I was there, Marilee put in an order for trout. Rainbow trout, which we served there. And the way we fixed it was to kind of grill it on both sides and then steam it with a lid, okay? Well, I rang the bell for Marilee to come pick it up, and she said, Bill, have you done this long enough? And I said, of course, you know. Well, about a minute later, I saw her headed toward the window with fire in her eyes. And luckily I ducked because that dish of trout came flying through that window and crashed on the wall behind me. But we were good friends and we just had a good time together. While I was I'm going to jump to the 80s, okay? Because I've kind of talked pretty much about, does anybody else have something to add for the 60s that you want to add? Because I'm jumping ahead to the 80s with a really neat lady that I met. Patience Kemp. And I'm sure most of you know who she is and how important she was to this town. She was the daughter of James Cairns. I need to make sure I get that right. He was an early pioneer here, as most of you know. He married Mary Lyons Cairns, Mary Lyons. She was 22, he was 56. Yeah, it must have been something. Anyway, she asked me if I could help her with a slideshow that she was doing in the Kaufman House. And I was kind of into that at the time. I said, sure. So basically I helped her. I recorded her. I said I'd do it as long as she narrated it. So we recorded her narration, and you can actually see this slideshow up in the Kaufman House. I went there yesterday, and they've got a different thing where you pick a different video that you want to see. And one of them is that show. So we hit it off. One day when I was interviewing her or recording her, I saw this beautiful picture on her wall above the fireplace, and I said, "Wow, that's really cool." He said, "Well, my mother took that in 1913." I said, "Really?" Right there. This is it's the same photo that's on the cover of her book that she wrote back then. And I asked her if it'd be possible to borrow the negative, and she said sure. And so I had a print made, and this is a photograph of the print that's in my cabin up the street a little bit. And I returned the negative, and it turned out that someone else borrowed it, and it never got home. So I consider myself very fortunate to have this, and I don't know if the other one's still hanging in her home or not. Does Jane still own the home? No? She sold it? Okay. Jane was her daughter. Looking back.
Hey, Bill.
Yes?
Uncle Scouty knows those 3 boats. Tell us whose boats those are, Scouty.
Well, the highball belonged to the Camels. The Dorothy belonged to our family. Donald. Dorothy.
Now, what were they called? What was this called? Just a sloop?
Those are...
They were gaff rigs, but they were... The high wall was like the Scout today that are out there, that you see out there. The Dorothy is a centerboard boat, you see is the Marguerite is the other third boat that belonged to the Castle family. But anyway, that's a nice picture. But
Isn't it?
the gaff rig is, you see, instead of today all the sails stop at the top of the mast, come down to what's called a Marconi rig.
Okay.
But in the early days, all the boats had gaff rigs to get more sail area.
Huh.
So they capsized off.
So you own one of these boats?
Well, my mother did.
Oh, okay. So it's,
Dorothy.
is it still in your family at all?
The Dorothy?
Yeah.
No, the Dorothy was, they on the 4th of July, they had a custom of setting old boats afire out in the middle of the lake. And the Dorothy was sunk before the fire could start. And so, anyway, I was just 10 years old or something, and we put rocks in it and sunk it.
I'll be darned.
But you know, what's interesting is it sunk in about 90 feet of water. And for many years, I could go find it. Before they started pumping water out of,
I'll be
before
darned.
they polluted our lake with a big Thompson system.
Wow. Well, thank you for
I
that.
remember when this lake was, we pumped water out of the lake up to a tank and drank it, and nobody got sick. It was just such pure water in Grand Lake.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Or as they say these days, I appreciate you. So this isn't when I was there, but I ran across this and I thought it was kind of fun. I'm guessing this is in the 30s based on the cars. I had a recording of patients talking about the Indian happening back in the days, and it referred to the Red Lake. And we found this, and we were going to record it, but I don't think the recording came over, so you'll have to go to the Coffin House and listen to it there. I'm pretty much done. Let me just finish with, I just feel like I grew up here in a way, and I love this town. And what began as a teenager's summer adventure became something much larger. Grand Lake gave me my first glimpse of the Rocky Mountains, my first mountain climbing experience, my first attempts at trout fishing, and more than a few lessons in cooking, water skiing, and growing up. Most importantly, it gave me a lifelong connection to a remarkable place in a community that has remained a part of my life for more than 63 years. For a young man from Southeast Texas, that summer changed everything. So thank you. Do the rest?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've got a few drone shots, and we've got a few more. So, yeah. So
Well, my son Justin has acquired my love of photography, and he's carried it a step further and become a really excellent drone photographer. And I've gathered up a few pictures of the Grand Lake area, mostly just right around here, that he has done, and I thought if you guys would like it, I'm not going to do any narration, but I'd just run through them as maybe 10 and let you see what Grand Lake looks like from that's the golf course. Now, when I started playing that course, like a lot of you, it was covered with trees. Covered with trees.
Those are done from a drone.
Yes, sir.
Boy, they're spectacular.
He's good.
Can you go back?
Look at that.
Go back a couple of nights so I could look at it for 1 second?
That one?
Oh, it's a cabin. Oh my gosh, it's a cabin.
Speak up. Speak up.
There are cabins right there. We're right there by the bridge.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Remember, this is being recorded, so you can all pull this up and watch it again and see all the pictures.
I need to do a little editing before you put it on YouTube, okay?
Oh my gosh. I wondered how it got.
Christmas time, obviously. The meadows up past Adams Falls.
Okay.
4th of July, I guess, right? Mhm. And that's the last one. That's on Berthoud Pass, just looking straight down. Okay. Does anybody have any questions that I could answer? No?
I have one.
All right.
Can you go back to that 30s picture that was
Sure.
5?
I can do that. Here.
So look at the highest bridge above the roof line of the information rooms. Doesn't that look like maybe it was burned?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I know it looks like tundra, but it also looks like a fire.
Right, in Michael Gary's presentation, there was a fire in the early part of the century, so that's what she said.
Okay.
It's my understanding that's what did in Ponderosa forever.
Wasn't there a fire in like 1911 or something?
Yeah,
like that?
that's what they were talking about, yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that about the Ponderosa.
Um,
And I have a question. So who was it who said that they remembered the 10-cent dance at the Pine Cup?
Scallop.
I thought that was, yeah, that was you, right? Who remembers the 10-cent dancing at the Pine Cone?
Yeah, and there was a band played, and you bought little tickets, just like, you know, I don't know what kind of, the kind of tickets we used to have to buy to go to the movie in those days.
Uh-huh.
But, and so you had a dime a dance. And so, one of the things I remember is that the Denver boys were up here, and the construction guys were building the big Thompson stuff. You know, the dam at Shadow Mountain and Granby. And they didn't like the Denver kids. And a guy, it was right after World War II, and I was about 16 years old. And my brother was a veteran, and we were in the Pine Cone, and one of his pals went out and cut in on a local guy who was dancing with his life. And the local guy didn't like that. And the place erupted. Everybody was fighting, and my brother says, "Get under the table." And I did. It was a diamond dance, and it was just, and that was the Pine Cone. So it went through all kinds of iterations, you know.
Oh, yes.
So did you have dance hall girls there that you danced with?
Huh?
Did you have dance hall girls there that you danced with?
No, we were dancing
Say
with
that.
who you brought.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember any dance hall girls, but I was
Scally?
pretty young.
Hey, Scally, they bring the bands in from Denver.
That's-
I
Yeah,
said they
yeah,
bring the
they had a
band, they
band.
were hot stuff.
Oh, yeah, it wasn't recordings, it was bands.
Yeah.
And Steve has something too.
Well, my father used to dance over there. It was back in the 20s, Jersey, it was still 10 cents a dance. That's what he told me. And they drove across the lake.
Could you say this again? Here.
My father told me this, that when he was growing up here in the month of August, he and his cousin would go over with her parents from the South Shore and dance till late in the evening. It was 10 cents a dance.
Uh-huh.
Now, he didn't tell me about any tickets. He said you just gave them the money, I guess, at that time. But it's amazing that because the big bands from Denver, they would come up here for like 3 days and play, but the tunes were longer than they are today. And then they would look at to get back, they would line up the lodge and the lookout tower, and they would take them right home because they didn't leave their lanterns on in the house
Wow.
because they didn't have electricity at the time.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Wow.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I had fun. Sorry for my